Right now, we will broadcast for you the news in English on Radio Free Syria.
Welcome to our news hour in English. I am Marwan Kadra and I will be with you during this news hour from Radio Free Syria. We will start with the local coordination committees. By the end of Saturday, the LCC managed to document 76 marchers, including 2 women and 4 children, and 32 soldiers of the Free Syrian Army. 25 marchers were reported in Damascus and its suburb, 13 in Daraa, 10 in Aleppo, 15 in Homs, 5 in Idlib, 4 in Deir ez-Zor, 2 in Hama, and 1 in Raqqa. Meanwhile, the Free Syrian Army clashed with the regime forces in 112 points, during which FSA was able to liberate the 38th Brigade in Saida, Daraa, after fierce clashes that lasted for several days, that also resulted in the martyrdom of several FSA soldiers and the killing of the brigade commander and capturing many of its soldiers. The FSA also took over all weapons that were in the brigade. In Yadudiya, the FSA besieged Mafraq barrier for the second day in a row and liberated families that were going to be used as human shield in Julin and liberated the brigade. In Deir ez-Zor, the FSA targeted a gathering of regime forces in the Ammal neighborhood and helped some of the regime soldiers to defect in Tabaqa while killing others. In Aleppo, the FSA progressed towards Al-Hamdaniya Stadium. FSA also attacked Shabiha strongholds in Utayba in Damascus suburbs. According to Reuters, Israel said it fired into Syria on Sunday and destroyed a machine gun position in the Golan Heights, from where shots had been fired at Israeli soldiers in a further spillover of the Syrian civil war along with tense fronts. It was not immediately clear whether Israel held Syrian troops or rebels responsible for what a spokesman for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said had been a deliberate attack on Israeli patrols in the occupied territory. Israeli forces destroyed a Syrian machine gun nest that fired twice in at least 24 hours on Israeli patrols operating to safeguard the border, the spokesman, Ophir Gentleman, said on his Twitter page. Shells have fallen several times inside Israeli-controlled territory during Syria's civil war. Some of the incidents have drawn Israeli return fire. Syria's southern provinces bordering Jordan and Israel have become an increasingly significant battleground as the capital Damascus in Syria's south comes into play and President Bashar al-Assad forces fight hard to prevent rebel advances. The Israeli military said one of its vehicles was hit late on Saturday by shooting from across the Israeli-Syrian ceasefire line on the Golan Heights, but no one was hurt. Israeli military spokesman Lieutenant Colonel Peter Lerner said, "Our understanding is that it wasn't stray fire." After a second incident on Sunday, Israeli soldiers responded with accurate fire towards the Syrian post from which they were fired on. The military said. Defense Minister Moshe Ya'alon said in a statement that Israel viewed shooting from Syria with severity and would not allow the Syrian army or any other element to violate Israeli sovereignty by firing at our territory. Israel captured the Golan Heights from Syria in the 1967 Middle East War and annexed the strategic plateau in 1981 in a move that was not won international recognition. Any fire from the Syrian side will be answered immediately by silencing the sources of fire when we identify them, Ya'alon said. Amos Gilad, a senior Israeli defense minister official, said battles between Syrian government forces and Syrian rebels sometimes take place just a short distance from Israeli lines. At times, shells or bullets are fired at Israel. Usually the shooting from Syria is not deliberate, but it doesn't matter, he told Army Radio. Israel shall not be target of any attack, whether intentional or unintentional, because after all of you accept something that was unintentional that could lead to something unintentional in the end, Gilad said. Israel has said for months that it expects Assad's government to fall and has voiced concern that its chemical weapon could fall into the hands of Lebanon's Hezbollah guerrillas and Al-Qaeda. Israeli President Shimon Peres has called for Assad to step down. Also, according to Reuters, the head of Syria's main opposition group resigned on Sunday in a blow to a diminishing moderate way of the two-year uprising against President Bashar al-Assad rule. Muaz al-Khatib, a former imam of the Umayyad Mosque in Damascus who had offered Assad a negotiated exit, was picked to head the Western and Gulf-backed National Coalition for Syrian Revolutionary and Opposition Forces in November after leaving Syria following persecution and several stays in jail. Al-Khatib's resignation came after the coalition berated him for offering Assad a deal and after the group went ahead despite his objection with steps to form a provisional government that would have further diminished his authority. I had promised the great Syrian people and promised God that I would resign if matters reached some red lines, Al-Khatib said in a statement on his official Facebook page without explaining exactly what had prompted his resignation. Now I am fulfilling my promise and announcing my resignation from the National Coalition in order to be able to work with freedom that cannot be available within the official institutions, he said. A spokesman for Al-Khatib confirmed his resignation. Last week, the coalition chose Islamist-leaning technocrat Ghassan Hito as a provisional prime minister to form a government to fill a power vacuum in Syria arising from the two-year-old revolt that has killed more than 70,000 people. Al-Khatib, who had argued insufficient groundwork had been done to start forming a government, was weakened considerably, along with the moderate wing of the revolution, as Jihad Salafists play a bigger role on the battlefield. Hito, whose cabinet is supposed to govern rebel-held areas currently ruled by hundreds of brigades and emerging warlords, was backed by the Muslim Brotherhood and Coalition Secretary General Mustafa Sabbagh, who has strong links with Qatar. Basically, Qatar and the Brotherhood forced Al-Khatib out. In Al-Khatib, they had a figure who was gaining popularity inside Syria, but he acted too independently for their taste, said Fawaz Tello, an independent opposition campaigner. They brought in Hito. The position of Al-Khatib as leader became untenable. The appointment of Hito prompted 9 people to suspend their membership in the 62-member body, saying that promises to reform the coalition and respect consensus have been discarded. Earlier this year, Al-Khatib floated an initiative for the opposition to talk to Assad's administration about a political transition, but said the Damascus government did not respond. In his statement, Al-Khatib added, "We will follow the path with our brothers who aim for freedom of our people." He said officials' positions were means to serve noble objectives and not to aim in themselves. Muaz al-Shami, a leading activist in Damascus, said Al-Khatib's resignation deprived the coalition, which consists mostly of exiles, of the figure best known inside Syria, but that Al-Khatib could still play a major role in the revolt. The opposition does not deserve Sheikh Muaz al-Khatib. He is a moderate and a non-sectarian figure who was acting like the statesman Syria should have. A lot of people did not agree with his peace offer to Assad, but they respected him, Shami said. Syrian opposition leaders are due to attend an Arab League summit this week, Qatar said earlier on Sunday, looking for more support for their armed uprising. According to Al Jazeera.net, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry has told Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki that Iranian flights carrying arms to Syria through Iraqi airspace are problematic during an unannounced visit to Iraq. A senior U.S. official said the sheer number of overflights which occur close to daily, as well as overland shipment to Syria through Iraq from Iran, was inconsistent with claims they are only carrying humanitarian supplies. Kerry said that U.S. politicians and the American people are watching what Iraq is doing and wondering how it is a partner. Anything that supports President Bashar al-Assad is problematic, Kerry told reporters on Sunday. I made it very clear to the Prime Minister that the overflights from Iran are in fact helping to sustain President Bashar al-Assad and his regime. Kerry traveled from Jordan to Iraq after accompanying President Barack Obama to Israel and the Palestinian Authority. He has urged Iraqi officials to stop overflights of Iranian aircraft carrying military personnel and equipment to support the Syrian government as it battles rebels. The overflight have been a source of contention between the US and Iraq, and Kerry has told the Iraqis that letting them continue will threaten Iraqi stability, officials said. This was it for today. Thank you very much for listening. I am Marwan Kadra, along with me, Executive Manager Islam. Please follow us on freesyriaradio.webs.com. You can also reach us through Skype on Syrian24. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Right now, we will broadcast for you the news in English on Radio Free Syria.